Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with Sam, the Miracle Man. You'll join a captivating and transformational podcast where we'll explore the extraordinary journey of Sam, a man who overcame all odds to reclaim his life and health. Each Wednesday, Sam shares his inspiring stories of growth, health, and his journey to find wellness through self-care, mental well-being, and physical rejuvenation. We'll also have dynamic and interesting interviews with professionals in health, fitness, spirituality, and personal growth to help you on your journey to uncover the true secrets to living your best life. With just a click, you can subscribe. We will welcome you every week. Now here's your amazing host, Sam.
Hi, Miracle Makers. Welcome back to Wellness Wednesdays. I'm your host, Sam, the Miracle Man. And remember, miracles are created when we feel good and being present in this moment. And once a month, I hold Miracle Maker workshops in my Head Trash Anonymous group. The next one coming up is June 7th. You can find the details in my Head Trash Anonymous group. All right, let's get on to the show this week. We have a special guest this week, Ken Kaplan. I guess best way to describe Ken, and I've known him for quite some time, is an intuitive dream interpreter. What does that really mean? That he understands the language of dreams and the messages and the wisdom that they're trying to reveal. And he shares some of those insights today. And he also talks about that we all dream, or 99% of us dream, but we simply don't remember. And he shares insights and tips on how to recall our dreams. Then at the end, when we were wrapping up, he shared some more insights. So it's a little bit of bonus coverage that he shared. Okay, now it's time for the interview. Here is Ken Kaplan.
So today we're here with Ken Kaplan. So Ken, tell us how you got into the world of dreams.
When I was in my early, about 23 or 24, I moved down to Philadelphia. And I'd been part of a spiritual group. I'd gotten involved with a guru, a real one from India, who was very, very advanced. But he was in India, and I was not in any way, shape, or form able to go see him. And one night, they came down to visit Philly, and I had this dream with him in it. And the dream was incredibly powerful. I woke up from the dream saturated with bliss from the divine presence through the agency of this particular guru. What I've learned since then is the guru is the physical representation of something beyond physical form. The true guru is not the form. But the experience was so powerful, the bliss hung in the air. And it was clearly that someone or something had been in the room with me. And that started a series of dreams with the guru for the next couple of years, that I would have 2 or 3 of these dreams a month. And I later have come to understand that because this was kind of an ordained situation, that because I was not going to be able to go to India and see him, because he didn't travel around the world the way a lot of gurus do today, I was going to be implanted with what's called divine transmission, or anchoring in the divine transmission through these dreams. They were filled with love, they're filled with bliss, they were filled with ecstasy. And at the end of these dreams, it was like a giant hand would come down and pinch a candle and say, time to wake up. And the higher self, or the guru, through the mechanism of the dreams, would orchestrate the dreams as a director orchestrates a movie. And this was incredibly profound. Years later, in 1975, I read a book by Anne Faraday called The Dream Game, in which she talked about dreams and how to interpret them. She was a very famous dream worker in the 70s. And I read this one book, and I had it. I just had it. I knew how to help people interpret their dreams. I never studied with anyone. I never took training. I just had it. Now, through the years, my ability has gotten sharper, more what we call acuity. I have learned some things from reading here and there. But basically, I've come to a place that is consistent with many of some of the great dream workers in the country, particularly Jungian analysts. Carl Jung was the real father of dreams, although Freud had a great influence on the idea of dreams coming from the unconscious, as opposed to gods, demigods, muses coming to you outside of you. Freud's great breakthrough was understanding that there was this landscape within us that was causing and influencing most of our behavior, which we call the unconscious. But it was Jung who really, really understood dreams in a way that Freud didn't. And Jung, in my opinion, was the true father of modern dream work. And most of the really great people who work with dreams these days have studied Jung and are Jungian analysts. And I've learned a great deal from what Jung talked about, some very specific things about dreams and how they work. Jung really established what is called depth psychology. So that's in a nutshell how I got involved with it. And I started doing it professionally about 25 years ago. And I've done lectures all around the area. I'm giving a lecture tomorrow. And right now I'm into building a business as a dream interpretation specialist and helping people heal through dreams, because people don't really understand much of what dreams are really about.
What is the purpose of having a dream? Why is it there? Why does it occur?
Well, we don't understand, and I think we will never understand exactly why dreams were implanted in us, as well as other animals, as a function of the mystery of them, why they are the way they are. We do understand a couple things. We do understand a lot about them psychologically, that there's been a lot of work through the years where the dream understanding of what they're about has gotten very sophisticated, building on the shoulders of many people through perhaps the last 150 years that have added to it. Dreams act in two ways. Physiologically and psychologically, they act as a processing mechanism. This is much physiological scientists, people who work with the body. The dreams act as kind of a clearing mechanism for the body on the physiological sense, or the body side of it. I think they also act this way from a psychological sense, but with one caveat or one distinction. Even in a processing dream, the dreaming mind has this ability to reveal everything, and I mean everything, that's going on in your psychological, emotional, and mental and belief system life. Use an analogy. For those who've seen the movie Avatar, there's this map at the beginning of the movie, and it's a holographic map. And unlike a flat topographical map, this map sees everything on the entire planet. You can literally see every leaf on every tree in this map. And you can press a button, it can go 50 miles this way, it can go up, down, it can go underground, it can go everywhere. That's what the dream is like. The dream penetrates to the depth of the unconscious, where everything, all memories, every experience is stored. And what the dreaming mind is, which most people don't understand about our dreaming mind, it is an intelligent mechanism. It actually has intelligence. And so in its distribution of symbols and narrative, it's done so in a way to send a message to the conscious mind about what's going on inside, in a way that would be the greatest therapist that you ever saw, the greatest psychic you ever saw. That's how precise. I always say that dreams are more precise than an atomic clock. This is hard for people to grasp, because an atomic clock loses 1 second in 15 billion years. But there is not one hair out of place in a dream. Now, this will seem crazy to people because the images seem so bizarre. But that's because we don't understand the language of the dreaming mind. So the second thing is, not only is the dreaming mind, its aspect is like a genius, a savant, because it knows everything. It knows exactly which symbols and the nature of which symbols and aspect of symbols to place to get its message across. But it also is a has a healing nature. It is one of the things that Carl Jung discovered is that the dreaming mind wants to help us heal toward integration. And therefore, it will offer a guiding function as well as a revealing function where it will reveal everything. But then the way it places symbols, and then at the end, as usually where it wraps up, is where Jung said is the solution phase, where the dream gives its guidance and the solution to the problem that has arisen that the dream wants us to take a look at. And this, most people have no idea that this is going on. But once you start to really understand the technology of dreams, you start to see it play out over and over and over again. And the great rule of dreams is they are linked to the waking life. The dream is a day-by-day or existential commentary on the waking life and what's going on. So, you know, and dreams will only, they have to follow the waking life. Nothing can be in a dream that's not in the waking life. I'll give you an example. A man that I met had a dream for years, a recurring dream. And recurring dreams and nightmares are really important because the dream is doing the job for you of thrusting up an unresolved issue. You don't have to wait until you're in a lot of pain to recognize something's going on and you might need help. The dream is doing it for you. It's assisting you in saying, there's something here you really need to take a look at. And recurring dreams are particularly that way. So he had a recurring dream that he was trapped in a labyrinth. And he was at college at the time in the dream. And he wanted to go to the student union where there was fellowship and a fire in the winter. There was good food, good things to drink. But he was trapped in the labyrinth and he could never get out. Well, that dream persisted for years. Then the dream changed. He had the same recurring dream, but this time, every single time, the way would open up and he would be able to find his way out of the labyrinth and make his way to the student union. It would open up right there, and he would be with all his friends, a good fellowship and warm feeling. Well, what changed? What made the dream change? Well, the first dream was during the time of his first marriage, which was an unhappy marriage. And the dream was a symbolic representation in a very powerful way of being trapped in the first marriage, being lost in a maze when one cannot find one's way out. That's how he felt. The dream was symbolically representing, at a very deep level, his deepest feelings about being trapped in a marriage that was not happy, and he could not make his way. The student union was a symbol for inner warmth, inner enjoyment, inner relaxation, inner connection. And he didn't have that in his life because of what was going on in his marriage. And therefore, that first dream represented that being trapped and having no way out. The dream changed when he divorced his first wife and got married to a second wife, where he had a much better marriage. Now the dream reflected the waking life change in that now, because he was connected to those feelings in a good marriage, the dream reflected those changes, where he started feeling trapped the way he did in the first dream, but the dream always, every time, never changed, opened up into the warmth and connection that he wanted. That is one of the clearest examples I can give of how the dream changes with the waking life. Many people will have recurring dreams, and then those recurring dreams will stop. And that is usually because on some level they resolve the issue what the dream was trying to deal with. However, if they had known about dream work, they might have resolved the issue 10 years earlier. I've had people tell me that they wish I had been in their life 10 to 20 years earlier to work with them because they could have resolved an issue that lingered with them for many years that the dreams were talking about.
Right, exactly. Because I can see where that comes in. You're having this dream. You don't understand how the mind is putting together a dream. It seems really abstract, obscure, but it's trying to lead you to a solution, I guess you could say. So you kind of step in and you try to make sense of what they're seeing, what they're experiencing in those dreams.
You have to have some understanding of dreams. But even in my work with regular dream interpreters, they tend to stay at a fairly shallow area. One of the things that's happened to me, particularly in the last 6 months, is I've been able to go much deep, although I was always able to go very deep into dreams. I was always able to do certain things that I think were kind of unusual in the dream community. I'll give you an example of this. I was at a library presentation, and a guy had a dream we couldn't unlock his combination for high school. And then he went to look at the schedule, and everything was out of place. This is a very, very common type of dream. One is usually represents one's feeling can't put their life together. The combination can't fall into place. The schedule can't fit. Things are out of place, disjointed. One feels more helpless, frustrated. And this is where a lot of people interpreting dreams would go with this kind of dream. It's very common, being lost in a city, being at a test in the last 2 minutes and you can't finish it, can't find your car. There's a lot of, as a storyteller, I've had this type of dream where I can't remember the stories. So this is where a lot of dream people would stop. The dream is representing a place where you don't feel in control, don't things fit in your life, where in your life are things not fit. But I wanted to go a step further. And I said, I'm interested in what's in that locker. Now, what's in the locker is not on stage in the dream. It's behind. You can't. But I said to him, I had learned from Anne Faraday a technique called a Gestalt technique, a point of view technique. You can align yourself with the energy of the symbols in the dream, and they are encoded with incredible amounts of information. And therefore, if you can allow yourself to engage with the symbol and let it come alive, you can gain information. So I said, I want you to imagine what's on the other side of the locker. And I want you to connect with it. And I want you to tell me what you see. Now, I had no idea what's going to happen here. My job is not to force an interpretation on someone, but to act as a shaman. The way the shaman would enter the spirit world, enter the world of the dream, to allow the dream to unveil itself through my skill, but it's ultimately the dreamer's dream. I had no idea what he would find on the other side of that locker, but I was very interested in what he was being shut out of. So as he went into it, all of a sudden he said, there's a tunnel. That was the last thing in the world I would have imagined to come up. I said, enter the tunnel and follow it. And the dream became a guided visualization. He saw footprints in the tunnel. And I said, become the footprints and ask them what they're doing there. They said, we are the path to peace. And as he went through the tunnel, which is very clean and dry, he came upon a beautiful spring of water. And I asked him, what is the spring of water? He said, we are the spring of relieving past regrets. This is mind-blowing. This is a mind-blowing occasion to happen. I had no idea any of this was going to happen. I'm following the thread of the dream and allowing him to get into it. Now, water in dreams usually means emotion. But also, he had been raised a fundamentalist Christian and had a lot of conflict around issues of hell and issues like this. And these kinds of traumas, also the spring would represent to a certain degree baptismal energy related to what we call Christian iconography or an archetype. And I've had other Christians have dreams in which Christian symbols will show up for them because that's part of their own inner matrix. Dream symbols are unique to the dreamer. And even when we find general archetypes like water as emotion, it's still important to look at the details of the dream because they're unique to the dreamer and they bring out the uniqueness of what's going on in the life of the dreamer. And so the dream ultimately was pointing that his upbringing that generated a lot of fear in him had disabled him emotionally. And therefore, this is the source of the problem that he was experiencing in his daily life where he couldn't put anything together. Things wouldn't fit, couldn't get the combination to work, couldn't find the lock to fall into place, couldn't find the schedule. These are all symbolic representations of what was going on for him psychologically and emotionally. And this dream was clearly pointing to him that he had a strength inside of him that he could access to somehow undo all of this. Now, I want to make something clear that oftentimes a dream will, well, all the time, a dream will reveal what's going on. And it will guide us, as in this dream did, that he had the strength to begin looking inward to what it was that he could do to help kind of put things back together in his life in a way where he wasn't as frustrated. And I became a little bit of a coach, and I gave him some suggestions, such as to join some spiritual groups, do more meditation, maybe even get professional help. But the dream can, in a lot of cases, the dream can reveal situations, and even if the issue isn't severe enough, we can actually make a life-changing healing session in one session. I've had many sessions where people's lives have changed from one dream, exploring one dream. But if an issue is really severe, a person has a phobia, is a very, very, very deeply seated issue or deeply seated trauma, then my boundary is, as a dream worker, I've been able to help you illuminate what's really going on and where it might be coming from. I've had friends where the dreams have led us right back to specific instances of where in their family these traumas were formative and where they started. And they see where the unhealed trauma is overlaying what's going on in their present life. It's a one-to-one correspondence. And by understanding where it came from, they now have power to make decisions. Do I want to continue being driven by this unseen force within me? I know enough to know that I'm not a trained therapist. I'm not skilled to work with a very severe issue that might need professional help or some form of skilled help in a way that I am not trained to do. And therefore, I will say to people, this might need a skilled therapist. I had one client for years. Her dreams are constantly showing her the tension in her marriage and the power dynamics that were off in the marriage and her frustration around not being able to express herself. We went through many dreams in which was a constant theme. It was a pattern continually. But I couldn't do the work. Now, when she first started having these dreams, she had 2 small children. So she was kind of trapped in the same way my other friend was trapped in a marriage that wasn't working. Now, this marriage, in some ways it was working, other ways it wasn't. But the bottom line was it wasn't a time for her to leave with 2 small children. There was a frustration on her part. As the children got older and we were still talking about some of these things, we began to investigate ways in which she might reclaim her power by either going to counseling with her husband, finding more ways to be more independent, pursue things that work more for her. These were outside of what I could do. We could talk about it. I could coach her to those possibilities, but she had to undertake those things. But the dreams had revealed the landscape. I remember she had one dream where they were taking a trip and the water pump of the car broke. Well, water is emotion, and the water pump creates circulation in the car, where there'd be the circulation of emotion in the marriage, and here it broke and they were stuck. It's a perfect symbol of the emotional communication in the marriage being broken. And how do you fix that? Well, I can't fix that. Her husband is not a client of mine. I'm not a trained counselor. This would be where, if you're going to get the water circulating again and the emotional communication circulating in a healthy way, you have to do something. And they went into counseling, and I don't know whether it worked or not that well or not. But these are ways in which dreams illuminate so deeply the inner landscape and give us guidance very specifically and precisely as to where these issues have come from and how they're affecting us. There are so many ways I could talk to you, not in this short amount of time, about the way in which the dreaming mind can use. The symbol can be like a diamond. I had a dream the other night in which Trungpa Rinpoche, a very, very famous Buddhist teacher in the 70s, was in the dream, and he looked in pain. And this dream was a very spiritual dream where a lot of higher self energies were coming into the dream and using the dream to give me messages. And 3 times the dream told me, wake up, wake up, wake up, but I was still awake in the dream as it told me to wake up. But if I looked at the symbol of this Buddhist teacher, he represented many things for me. He was brilliant. He was incredibly spiritually connected. He was a mentor. These are all aspects that I have inside of myself, maybe not at his level, but he was reflecting a piece of me. But he was also incredibly indulgent. In his life, he used to get alcohol. He was an alcoholic. He would have sex with his devotees. There was a lot of conflict about him between his brilliance and his kind of depravity. And how did his devotees handle that? Well, he appeared in the dream. He was the perfect symbol because in about 6 or 7 different ways, he represented both the positive aspects of me and my own nature. Whether you say you have an indulgent nature right now where you are indulging yourself too much in kind of food and things like that because there's a wound that you're having, which is the pain that's reflected in him. And I know about my own wounds enough and my own unfinished business that the dream was sharing with me, your wounds are leading you to this behavior. But he contained about 7 or 8 issues in one symbol. Freud had a name for it. He called it condensation, where a dream symbol can be so precise that it can have many, many different meanings contained in one symbol. And as I work with people, I help them. A friend of mine, I think you know her, Edie Weinstein, had a dream where Robin Williams appeared in his dream. So we did the same technique, which is actually the dream interview by Gail Delaney. And we asked, let's describe Robin Williams if we were trying to describe him from someone who didn't know him that well, but knew about him. He was a very brilliant comedian. He was incredibly gifted. He was incredibly creative. He was caring. He did the whole thing with the homeless for years with the comedy thing with Billy Crystal. And he was a heart-centered individual. And these are all representations of my friend, of Edie, who had wonderful these qualities. But at the same time, he was scattered. His comedy reflected scatterbrain, trying to take on too much, moving at 100 miles an hour, too overpressured, trying to get too much done at once. These kind of energies were also present in him. And this represented a part of her that took on too much, trying to move at 100 miles an hour. It was always just kind of overflowing with workaholism. And she had a heart attack. This dream happened about a year after her heart attack. So Williams was very calm in the dream. But we can see now there is no dream dictionary in the world where you can get Robin Williams as a symbol, and it'll tell you what he is. So we had to use my skill to unlock that the dream was sharing with her that he was a perfect symbol for her. And I just rattled off about 9 things.
Right.
And all these attributes that really were representational of her. Now, of course, Robin Williams did it on a world stage. Edie does it on a regional and semi-national stage. But the dream was using Robin Williams as a symbol for something that all these things that were in her. And he was the perfect symbol for her. Now, how did her dreaming mind know how to do that? That's the genius of the dreaming mind. It knows exactly what symbol, where to place it, when, where in the narrative. It will pick. How did it know to pick Trungpa Rinpoche for me? You know, it knew because he was the perfect symbol. This is the genius of the dreaming mind. And most people have no idea. They have no idea of this thing that's inside of them as to what it can give them. Now, I want to say one thing. A lot of people say I don't dream. That's not true. Everybody dreams. Where 99.9% of people dream. The issue is people don't remember their dreams. So if you want to remember your dreams, put a notebook by your bed or a tape recorder and tell your dreaming mind that you are going to just give you a fragment, give you something small to start with. And you promise you'll write it down, even if it's 4 in the morning. If you start to form an association and a relationship with your dreaming mind, it will start to cooperate with you. There are things you can do with dreams, like incubating a dream. You can ask for the solution to problems. Dreams are a conduit to the higher self. And one of the things I feel that the spiritual people miss out on by not understanding dreams really at all. If I could, Sam, you are one of the most connected people I know spiritually. You have a profound connection to the divine within you, enough that you can transmit that energy by going in and just being with it and allowing it to come through you. Would you say that most people have that gift right now in that way, is as developed as you have it?
We all have that ability, but it's
We
not
have it.
but it's not practice or whatever we want to call it. It's not developed. I don't know what the
Okay,
right word is for that.
Everybody has it, and we're all at various stages of it. And many of us now on the spiritual path who've been doing this work for a long time have this very deep connection. Well, let me ask you a question. Maybe not for you specifically, but for the audience. If you could open up another avenue besides conscious mind avenue, which is where psychics dwell. Now, psychics access the unconscious the way a dream specialist accesses the unconscious to the dream. They're both dwelling in the unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond the conscious mind through the intuition. But if you could open up your dreams enough so that you could start to allow yourself to have the availability of transcendent experiences, angelic appearances, more visitations from loved ones, multidimensional experiences, guidance from the higher realms, wouldn't you want that?
Mm-hmm. I think everybody would want that. More information, more knowledge.
Exactly. More info. You're opening up another avenue for the divine self or the higher self or source energy to communicate with you. The more you form that association with your dreaming mind, the more you open it up. The more you open up the capacity. But the problem is people don't understand that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a treasure laying there. I don't think it's in the Bible, but I always thought that Jesus had a parable about a man in a field, and there was a treasure there, but he didn't know that it was there. Another man who came and knew the land said, "Yo, if you dig there, you'll find it." Well, dreams are like that. This treasure, this incredible treasure, lies within every one of us. It's a gift, just as our spiritual connection to God, to the divine, is a gift. But the beauty of dreams is they can deal with anything. If you are attuned enough, a dream can take you to a past life. A dream can take you into the future. These are precognitive dreams. I've had prophetic dreams. They've been very, very, very helpful. And I know how to work with people, so I know what's truly precognitive and what isn't. I've been able to help people because one of the great mistakes people make is they take their dreams literally. I had a woman who had a dream where she got separated from her 6-month-old daughter, and the daughter died. And the woman was distraught, like you can't believe, and woke up in a panic. The first thing I told her is, this is not literal. It's not a premonition. Your daughter's not going to die. It's symbolic. Something is happening within you where there's a conflict, where you don't feel protected. I got in an argument with some people there because they said, this is a common dream about motherhood and separation. I said, no, it's not. There's something else going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's potential alternatives. I want the dream to speak to me. I don't want to impose my thing. My job is to be shamanic and allow the dream to speak. So I asked her, can you tell me what's going on in your daily life so we can get to the bottom of this? So she said the night before the dream, she had a talk with her husband about her mother. And it turned out that she had a brother when she was 8 years old who died. And he died away from the family. And apparently they brought him home and they saw his body. Well, you can see the parallel between the daughter getting lost in public and dying. A woman came up to her and said she's gone, and the brother who died. But also on top of that trauma, her husband had said to her, we're only going to have one child and no more. So between the trigger of the waking life of the talking about her mother that brought up the trauma, which was unhealed, about her brother dying when she was 8 years old, and her husband's admonition, she went into a panic about the fact that she would be left childless. And that's what the dream was about. It was not about her daughter. The daughter was a stand-in for the part of herself. And so, yes, about motherhood was kind of in the galaxy, but it was nowhere near the solar system. And until we understood completely the waking life context, could we fully understand the meaning of the dream? Now, for me, this was a dream that indicated that probably she would need some professional help to go over that phobia.
Mm-hmm.
But the dream had revealed something that obviously needed to be worked on. But she wasn't aware of it until she had the dream and woke up in a panic. I had to tell her, number one, it's not literal. Your daughter's fine as she is now. Nothing's threatening her. It's all feelings within you.
Mm-hmm.
This is what a guy named Calvin Hall found out. He found out he did 50,000 dreams from every culture around the world. And the dreamer is always dreaming about themselves, their relationship with how they see the world, how they see other people, how they're responding through their feelings, emotions, and belief systems to events happening. It's not about the other person. It's not about your neighbor. It's not about your husband. It's about your response to what's going on. So from that point of view, she was very, very appreciative of the work I did with her online. But I had to push the situation to get more specific and more detailed. That's the way I work. I want to go deep into this. And it's amazing how deep dreams can go. They're incredible at showing us where where formative traumas have come from.
Right. That's what you're saying before, that the symbols are unique to the dreamers. So you just can't read a book and say, oh, this means that. You have to use sort of like intuitive skills, that I'm guessing is what you're using, because like you said, these symbols are unique to the dreamer.
Yes, I have a very sharpened intuition, but I also built upon the work of people who come before me who laid out the landscape of the rules and structures of how dreams work. Now, one thing that's important about why you can get some benefit from dream dictionaries is that Carl Jung discovered the thing called the collective unconscious, that human beings have a shared set of symbols. He called them archetypes. And these come from the very high mythological archetypes to what I call cultural archetypes. I think Jung got a little bit too much into the mythological nature of things. But so, for instance, generally, if you're looking at dream dictionary, let's say water generally stands for motion. But then how in the dream does it appear? I had a dream with a woman as a child in the fireplace in her home. She had a recurring dream that this tsunami of water would storm through and just completely obliterate the fireplace and drench and just come and drown everything. Well, water is emotion. In this case, it was quite obvious that this was a repressed emotion. I said to her, who in your family life was repressing your feelings? And she said, my father. Well, it so happened that the fireplace was the fireplace that her father had built. He put a tremendous amount of energy and attention into making this incredible fireplace. And then in her dream, the water, the repressed energy of the water and the rage and the anger in the water comes rushing through to destroy the fireplace because it represents the rage and anger she had at her father at repressing her. Well, how brilliant is that? Now, we know that water represents emotion, but we have to go to the specific. Is the water a muddy pool? Is it a river? Is it a stream? Is it a tsunami? Is it a dripping faucet? And then in the dream, how does it appear? So yes, we have these general symbols, and I think they're very valuable to help us. I use dream dictionaries oftentimes to help me get to the ballpark of where a symbol is and what it might mean. But I agree with you that the symbols are unique to the dreamer. And what I'm discovering more and more and more is we have to look at the details of the symbol to see what in that particular dreamer's life the dream is trying to communicate.
Yeah, dreams can have that path to unlock whatever is going on in your life if you can interpret them properly. And for many people, they cannot, because they seem abstract. They don't really seem to connect to things in their day-to-day life. And
well, unlock is the beautiful word, because what I originally wrote, Ever Dreams, is unlocking the secret of your dreams. And it's not many people, Sam, it's nearly everybody. I'm telling you, almost nobody in the society understands dreams. I mean, 99% of the people, even spiritual people, don't understand dreams.
Yeah, that's the whole power, is
Well,
unlocking.
Yeah, you have to do a little bit of research to understand what they're about. in order, but even then, it's hard. First of all, it's hard to work with your own dreams. It really is. It's easier to work with other people's dreams. But second, I have a skill that's rare. I think the average person can at least put themselves in the ballpark about what's going on. Freud called, this is where Freud was right. Freud called all the bizarre elements, the craziness, dream seems to have no meaning, the manifest content. But the latent content is the message the dream is trying to give you through the manifest content. And you're right. People have to learn to either they have to go to someone who can help them unlock the dream, such as myself, because right now there are very few people like me that are not in the psychology profession to this kind of work and have the kind of skill I have. I've had therapists tell me that my skill in this is as great as a good therapist, only in the realm of my lane of dreaming, because I've had a really strong background in psychology my whole adult life. But I don't have the skill to work with healing the damaged wound if the wound is severe. So I know my limitations. But I have a therapist tell me that my skill level is so great, it really is the skill of a really good Jungian therapist. Just in terms of working with the dream itself and where it's going. I have a kind of intuitive understanding of psychology. So yes, most people, very few people know anything about their dreams. I see on the dream people, and they don't know what's going on. They just don't know what's going on. And a lot of people will try to give cursory, it means this, but I don't like to work that way. I feel that to do it properly, dreams are part of the depth psychology. And so when I work, I don't have a time limit. Usually I'll take between an hour and 2 hours with a dream, because there's so much in the dream that we have to unpack or unlock that I want to give time to allow the dream to slowly reveal its message, to slowly put the coherence together of why it put the symbols there, what is encoded, what is the communication, the messages in the symbols, how does that relate to the waking life, how does that relate to the past? Because the dream can go anywhere in your past to select why you're struggling with this particular kind of thing. We're dealing now. You can have positive dreams too. It's not just problems with. And slowly, the dream starts to the dream draws itself into clarity, into focus, and then people's jaws drop. They had no idea, Sam. When I work with people, they are astonished. Part of my desire is to advocate for dreams, both on a emotional level, as an incredible inner therapist and inner psychic, to help, but also as a spiritual tool to connect to the divine. It's an amazing thing when you open up that conduit to really allow the possibility of divine frequencies to guide you and to immerse you in the dream. It becomes then like a super psychic. And then, of course, you have visitation dreams where your loved ones come to you from the other side. And those are real. They're not from your subconscious. Those dreams are lucid. Now, I will say I'm not an expert in lucid dreaming. People ask me about that, and I say it's not my. I've had a lot of lucid dreams, but I do the dream that you learn control of and all that. I don't know about that. I'm not the expert in that. Therefore, I'm not going to tell people about it, except that I would be very cautious. And I don't like the fact that people want to push away the emotional body, being grounded, and they want to go and fly out. In Gail Delaney's book, there was this guy wanted to avoid his problems, so he asked his dreams to give him flying dreams. Well, they did, but they put him in coach in an airplane. And his dreams said, we're not going to pander to you. That's where the dreaming mind is intelligent. I'm going to pander to him and give him a dream. He was soaring flying so he could avoid his problems. They stuck him right in the middle of them. Said, deal with your stuff. And that's how intelligent the dreaming mind is. It's quite remarkable. It's a remarkable thing we have inside. And it's amazing how little it's understood in this culture. That's why I see as part of my job is to help people. And so I'm very grateful for you for giving me this opportunity to help people understand a little bit more that this incredible thing. I mean, if you could sit down in a theater and someone say, we're going to play a movie that's not as difficult symbolically as dreams are, But we're going to play a movie to show you everything about what's going on with you emotionally so you can have a grasp of it. And then the movie played right before your eyes and you went, oh my God, I didn't realize that was going on. That's what a dream is.
Right.
Except dream, people demand, well, why are dreams the way they are? Well, it's the way they are. I don't understand why they have this different language, but they do. And so we have to learn it. Fortunately, I've learned it. I'm fluent in it. I'm very fluent in dream language, and I can help people with their dreams.
How would people reach out to you if they want to work with you? What's the best way to reach you?
I would say if they're on Facebook, my Facebook page is Ken V. Kaplan. I also have a business page of Ken Kaplan, and you can direct message me on Facebook, or I have an email I'll give you, Ken Stories, STORIES 8 at gmail.com. So people, and I have I have a sliding scale between $50 and $125. I want this to be accessible for people to start. And I know there are some people who don't have a lot of discretionary money, but it's very, very important. If your dreaming mind is telling you and pushing you, particularly through a recurring dream or a nightmare, to work with it so you don't. I had one woman, Sam, she thought she had a cross in the sky saying the end of the world was coming, and she lived in dread for 5 years. So Christian, she had Christian symbolism. It meant that there was a shift in her life. She was moving to a new stage. It had nothing to do, but taking it literally really messed her up. This happens to people a lot. So I ask people to pay and what their ability to pay is and their satisfaction with the session. And I guarantee my sessions, in all my times where I never had anybody say, you've really missed it, or that doesn't, because the last thing I'll leave you with, it's true. People say that only the dreamer can interpret their dream. That's not true. If the dreamer has no knowledge what dreams are about, they can't interpret it. They can't get near it. But it is true that the way where you come to the dream in terms of unlocking it has to resonate with the dreamer. Many times I've worked with dreams where I come to a fork in the road and I don't know where the dream is going. I'll say to them, it could be this, or it could be that, or something else. What resonates for you the most? They'll say this. It's their dream. That's to resonate with them. So I am like shamanically, I am following the dream. I'm opening the dream up, and we're moving into the landscape and the forest of the dream for the dream to give us its information, its communication, and its message. So I want that to be accessible to people. I want people to pay what they can pay, but I want it to be accessible. I don't want to shut them out because of money.
Great. So I'll put all your contact information in the show notes, and I think there's some great parting words there. But if there's one last thing you would leave with people that are really struggling with their dreams, or maybe there's so many areas we can go here, struggling with dreams or not even aware of their dreams. I think people just aren't aware of your dreams. You gave earlier tips to start writing and documenting and to make them more accessible.
You have to start a relationship with the dreaming mind. There are many, many people that did not recall their dreams, but once they had the intention to start working with them, then the dreaming mind began to open up to them. There can be many reasons why. There can be many reasons why people don't remember their dreams. They can be their lives can be so full. They may be shutting out their dreams because they don't want one more thing to add to the pile. There are some things that people who are left brain remember a little bit less. But the main reason people don't remember their dreams is this society does not believe they have any worth. Percent of scientists who work with dreams physiologically do not believe that dreams have any intrinsic value. It's crazy. So if they don't believe it and they're working with dreams, it's not. If we lived in an indigenous society, you darn well would remember your dreams because the dreaming world would be considered to be as important. And I never say real life. I always say waking life because the dreaming life is just as real as the waking life. Yes, if you start to have an intention to write your dreams down, I always say just start with a fragment. Give me something small, but then your dreams will start to open up to you.
Right. Well, thanks for your time, Ken. I'll put all your contact information in there. I really appreciate you taking the time to really break down these dreams for us. There's so much to process in there. You might have to listen to this a few times to really understand everything about all this. You're very informative. I hope people will reach out to you. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Sam. Well, it's I thank you very much for having this. And yes, I think the more people get it as to what's really going on with dreams, I think then they're going to be more willing to work with them. I think the problem right now is people don't understand,
Right.
and you can't decide to work with something that you don't really. It's not on your radar.
Right.
You know, go to psychics and go to mediums because that's on their radar, but this isn't on their radar. And so I'm trying to bring it onto people's radars to say, oh, maybe that's something I should really invest in.
Yeah, because dreams are important. They could be the key to unlock some kind of trauma or something in their health that could be revealed through this work.
But if you look at the importance of dreams all throughout history, I mean, Christianity became the state religion of Rome because of Constantine had a dream. We saw a flaming cross in the sky and said, under the sign you will conquer. And he went into battle and he won. And he made Christianity the state where you can't get more. The entire course of Western civilization changed because of a dream.
Exactly, yeah. And your whole life could change if you interpret a dream properly.
Yes. And you can harm yourself if you don't interpret properly, particularly if you take it literally.
Yeah, literally. As if you take your dream literally, and that's not the meaning at all, then you're destroying your life.
I've seen people make that mistake. I used to make that mistake. And now I understand that's not the case. You know, there are certain literal things, precognitive dreams. There are certain things that are literal, but they're very rare. And I've had to make the distinction with that with people. A lot of times people think they're having precognitive dreams, but they're not. It's something else. And I'm very good at getting to, I'm also very good at visitation dreams and really decoding the messages in detail. Because a lot of times people miss very subtle aspects of what our loved ones are telling us to give us messages. I'm very good at that as well.
Perfect, yeah.
Thank you, Sam, so much for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Ken.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Wellness Wednesdays with Sam, the Miracle Man. And we hope you'll continue to discover the power of resilience and the steps we can all take to create our own miracles while on our bumpy path to well-being. But just remember, be present, find clarity, and also subscribe so we can all continue to share this life-changing journey together. See you next Wednesday.